Hello, my name is Bob Kennedy, and I'm chair of the chemistry department here at the University of Michigan. And on behalf of our faculty and staff, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the commencement for the class of 2022. Looking up in the balcony, it's really great to see the family and friends of our graduates with us here today. I'm so glad that you can make it. I want to congratulate you on all that you've done to help the students that we have before us get here today. You know, no student gets as far as these have without some strong support network. So all I can say is great job doing what you've done to help them get here. So congratulations to you. And I hope you're proud of them, but also maybe a little proud of yourself too for what you've done. Graduates, I want to congratulate you on completing all the requirements for one of our degrees. We know it's not easy, and really you just had to go through an extra difficult time because you're our first class that really had to do this during a pandemic. So you've had all the challenges associated with normal chemistry students, trying to do reactions that don't work, deciphering SN1, SN2, and moles and all these kind of terminology. But then maybe, you were sick, or people in your family were sick, or maybe you were stuck in your dorm room for long periods of time, or you were taking all your classes on Zoom, and maybe you couldn't even meet your professor. But I really admire your resiliency for working through all that. And work through it you have, and this is great. So now you've completed our degree in what we sometimes call the central science. And I'm here to tell you that that is very important. It means a lot. It means that you have learned how to think about the world at a molecular level. It means that you've learned how to think about problems quantitatively. And so all the knowledge and skills that you've gained are going to be key for you as you go on to whatever new experiences and careers that you'll have. We know that our graduates go on and do just amazing things like be involved in providing health care, helping protect the environment. Maybe they're involved in developing important new products such as new medicines or new fuels or new batteries. So I hope that you're excited about what's looking forward, what lies ahead of you. Certainly we're excited for you. I also want to tell you that the faculty and staff here are extremely proud of you as well. We dedicate our lives to working with students like you. And the reason we do that year after year is because the students that come here, especially at the University of Michigan, are just terrific. And the class of 2022 has been no different. It's been a privilege and honor working with all of you. So one of the great rewards of our careers is to hear how students do after they leave our university and go on to do other things. So we certainly hope that as alumni, you'll keep in touch with us. Let us know how you're doing. If you're in Ann Arbor, everyone will be more than happy to see you. So please do that. So with that, I want to just, again, welcome everyone to this commencement. I hope that you enjoyed the celebration today and the celebration for the rest of the weekend. It's extremely well deserved. And now I want to introduce our Associate Chair of Undergraduate Studies, Professor John Wolfe, who will open the ceremony. John?
Thanks, Bob, for the introduction. Hi, everybody. As Professor Kennedy said, my name is John Wolfe. I'm the Associate Chair for Undergraduate Education. I'm also an organic chemistry professor, as many of the students will recognize. But students, don't worry, there's no exam after this. There won't be a test on the remarks, and we're not going to talk about SN2 reactions. So it's my pleasure to welcome everybody to the 2022 Department of Chemistry commencement ceremony. It's really, really wonderful to be back here in person after a few years. The last time we were able to do this in the theater was 2019, so this is the first time in 3 years. And I'm really glad that all of you were able to join us to celebrate the graduation of this year's class of senior majors from the Department of Chemistry. So I'd like to start by saying congratulations to all of our graduating students. It's really been a privilege for myself and also for my colleagues to have the opportunity to teach you and also to learn a lot from you in our classrooms and also our research labs. It's been really, really rewarding to watch you develop as scientists and scholars and to see how much you've learned and progressed over the last 4 years. You've been a constant source of enthusiasm and intellectual curiosity that keeps our department energized and keeps our faculty on their toes. You've learned a great deal, and you've taught us a great deal as well. And as Professor Kennedy was saying, you've persevered under really unprecedentedly challenging circumstances for the last 2 years, starting with the interrupted winter 2020 semester, followed by a year of largely online learning outside of laboratory courses, and then followed again by this year where we did come back to in-person instruction, but under a lot different circumstances than we're at prior to 2020, and with considerable uncertainty compared to a few years ago. You should be really proud of all the things that you've accomplished, and I've been really impressed watching you work hard to overcome these unprecedented obstacles. The GSI strike from last year, 2 years of constantly changing COVID protocols and rules, classrooms filled with masked instructors and peers, and reduced capacity in labs that just makes it that much harder to get work done. But you still manage to excel in your classes and make significant accomplishments in your research, and you should be proud of what you've done. Your graduation represents a passage beyond a milestone in your educational careers and further towards becoming independent scientists, doctors, dentists, educators, innovators, and leaders. You've made the transition from students at the University of Michigan to alumni of the University of Michigan Department of Chemistry. You're joining a very distinguished group of people all around the world who've had an enormous positive impact on their fields and on society. You've already accomplished many things through your hard work and dedication as students. You've mastered an important, complex, and challenging subject. You've solved difficult problems both in the classroom and the laboratory. And you've had a huge impact on your peers, classmates, and the faculty that you've interacted with over the past 4 years. You're capable of achieving great things, curing disease, developing new sources of energy, inventing new materials, contributing to the understanding of fundamental chemical reactivity, and educating future generations as you continue on in your careers by working hard, striving for excellence, and continuing to never give up, regardless of how challenging circumstances may be. You've already made it through what might be the most challenging couple of years of your lives, and so congratulations. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our student speaker for today, Mr. Drew Tarnopol. Drew is now graduating, having completed his honors BS chemistry degree. He's been conducting undergraduate research under the supervision of Professor Charles McCrory, and his research has been focused on mitigating greenhouse gas emissions through the development of new cobalt complexes for electrochemical CO2 reduction. This fall, Drew will join the graduate program in chemistry at the California Institute of Technology, also known as Caltech to many of us, to pursue his PhD in chemistry. His excellence as a student and scientist were recently recognized through a prestigious National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship, which will support a portion of his studies in graduate school, and also through the Chemistry Walter Yates Award, which is given each year to an outstanding graduating senior major. It is without a doubt that Drew has made our department a better place to teach and learn, and we thank him for his efforts and congratulate him for his accomplishments. Drew?
Thank you, Dr. Wolf, for those very kind words. I'd like to start things off by thanking all of the faculty, staff, friends, and family who are joining us today to celebrate the graduating class of 2022. We are so grateful you were able to make it here with us for this special day, the first in-person chemistry graduation in 3 years. I especially thank my parents, who were lovingly not informed that I would be speaking today. Surprise. I would also like to thank Angie Cox for presumably just running the department, I think. She's the one who sends the email, so for all I know, she's the one in charge. To my fellow graduates, I extend my congratulations for our 4 years of hard work and dedication at one of the top research universities in the country. I would also like to remind all of you, please read the Monday updates and that your EverFi training is past due. When I was first approached with the nomination to be student speaker for this year's graduation, my first thought was, who would let this happen? Me talking about whatever I want for 10 minutes in front of an audience. I cannot be held accountable for this. The blame for what is about to happen rests in the hands of those who nominated me. You know who you are, John-elect Dr. Celine Rajul. Just know that due to scheduling conflicts, I was unable to attend either the honors graduation or the Mideast graduation, so I was forced to just smush all my speeches into this one. Naturally, while I was trying to figure out what I should talk about with this speech, I asked around to hear what others thought I would do. One person suggested I just go up and complain for 10 minutes, which I'm perfectly capable of doing, and I excel at that. And frankly, I think that our year has every right to complain. The years before us got to spend most of their undergrad career without worrying about Zoom classes or mask mandates. But our time here was dominated by the pandemic, and it's hard to believe that it's all over so soon. I remember 2 years ago, I was studying for my 302 exam the day before we went online, hoping that class was going to get canceled so I could just party. I don't know about this. I don't know, can people still hear me? Yeah? All right, I will yell. Hoping that class would get canceled so that I could party with my friends that night. When we first went online, I had no idea what was in store. None of us did. I left Ann Arbor at the beginning of quarantine thinking I'd be back in a few days. Turns out I'd be back in August with a new house and a new room that I'd sit in all day, every day on Zoom. I know that I'm not alone when I say that. We had some lows. But today is a rare exception where I don't feel like complaining, because the fact that we're all here together now means that we made it. That despite all of the challenges, all of the asynchronous lectures and breakout rooms and Canvas exams, the responsive blue checks and the wellness days, despite all of that, we still managed to accomplish so much. We survived those late nights at the Ugly and early mornings in the chem atrium. We passed our exams and turned in our lab reports, sometimes late, but still turned in. We made new friends and were reunited with old ones when we came back in person this year. And now that we're all together again, do we realize we were never really alone in our experience. We were all together during undergrad. We walk out of here today knowing that we were tested like no other class was, and we succeeded. And we can wear that like a badge of honor. On top of that, we can be certain that the future only holds brighter things for us. We had our lows, but that just means the only way for us to go now is up. Whether it be to grad school, med school, industry, whatever the next step in our scientific journey is, we can take it confidently, knowing that each one of us made the most of our time here. The Michigan Chemistry Department has prepared us for whatever life may have in store. I would like to thank all my fellow graduates for sharing this experience with me. Whether we worked together in lab or on a problem set, or just passed each other by in the halls of chem, together we forged strong bonds based on our common love for chemistry and devotion to understanding the workings of the natural world. And those bonds will continue to connect us even after we go our separate ways. I would like to thank the faculty of the chemistry department, who for these last 4 years have challenged us and encouraged us to push our intellectual limits. They have taught us that it isn't just about answering the question, but understanding why it was asked and what questions we should ask next. It is because of you that we depart here as capable scientists ready to answer whatever those questions may be. I thank my mentor, Dr. Charles McCrory, who I've worked with these last 3 years and who endorsed me as speaker today. I don't know why I said tonight. So once again, if you're dissatisfied or looking for someone to blame, gentleman second from left over there, I would like to thank my family and friends and all the family and friends who are with us here today. Every one of these graduates made it here because you stood behind them with your love and support. I thank my parents for their pride and confidence in me, despite all the smart-ass comments. I thank my siblings, 2 of them University of Michigan alumni, for setting a good example for me. I especially thank my sister, Rebecca, currently pursuing a PhD at UC Berkeley, for serving as my role model since my first day at Michigan. With that, I once again congratulate the graduating class of 2022. I wish you all the best of luck on this next step in your scientific journey. I have the utmost confidence that wherever you go and whatever you do, you will succeed. I urge all of you to remember what we built here together these last 4 years. Cherish those memories and make some new ones. And of course, as always, go blue.
Thanks, Drew. That was fantastic, and congratulations. So it's now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today's ceremony, Dr. Caroline Chick-Gerald. Dr. Gerald is a native of Detroit, and she carried out her undergraduate studies at the University of Michigan, where she majored in chemistry and conducted undergraduate research under the supervision of Professor Rick Francis. Dr. Gerald completed her BS chemistry degree in 1989, then moved to the University of California to pursue graduate studies in the lab of Professor Daniel Newmark, where she received her PhD in 1994. After completing postdoctoral research at UCLA with Professor James Heath, Dr. Gerald joined the faculty of the University of Illinois, Chicago in 1997 and was promoted to associate professor shortly before moving to the University of Indiana in 2002. She is currently the Herman B. Wells Endowed Professor of Chemistry and also serves as chair of the Department of Chemistry at Indiana. Professor Gerald's current research is focused on the application of gas phase reactivity, mass spectrometry, anion photodetachment spectroscopies, and computational chemistry towards solving important problems related to energy and the environment. She's also worked for increased diversity by initiating a grassroots women in chemistry group, serving as inaugural chair of the Chemistry Department Diversity Affairs Committee, and participating in the campus working group on faculty inclusion and retention. Her efforts led to a marked increase in the number of female research faculty in chemistry at Indiana. And in 2020, she received the American Chemical Society Francis P. Garvin John M. Olin Medal in recognition of her accomplishments and service in the field of chemistry. Dr. Gerald is a highly distinguished graduate of our department who's made enormous contributions to her field, and it's a pleasure to welcome her back to Michigan.
Can't help but notice that the font on my pages are much larger than the young gentleman down there. So I don't know how that happened. First of all, my heartfelt congratulations to all of you graduating here today. Getting a degree in chemistry or biochemistry or a related area is a lot of hard work. And what I'm going to say now, of course, is reflected in some of the earlier comments. You have to really broaden the way you think about things, learn to approach problems from different directions. And now more than ever, a degree in STEM is really meaningful when you think about the so many challenges facing all of humanity. Climate change, sustainability, environmental pollution, I'm looking at you, Flint, world hunger, human health, and development of informed and effective policies related to all of these things is of critical importance. So you here collectively have built a toolkit to address these problems. And plus you did it during a global pandemic that put us through strains that we hadn't experienced before, as we've all just heard about. And some of you have experienced loss. We, in my department, have experienced loss, and I have my heartfelt condolences for all of you who have also lost someone special. So gosh, I really appreciate the opportunity to return to Ann Arbor to address this group. You're like my younger siblings or maybe grandchildren or something like that, I don't know. This is truly one of the greatest honors I've ever felt. As chair of the Department of Chemistry in another Big Ten institution, I've attended graduations and other special events honoring accomplishments, and I've spent the last week or so trying to reflect on some of the most impactful and inspiring things that I've heard at these different events, thinking I could share them with you and get credit for them, but I'll try to attribute appropriately. So David Brooks from the New York Times spoke at one of our commencements, and he spoke of cherishing the ones you love and setting that as a central priority in your life. And I look up in the balcony and see all the families here who are supportive of you, and I couldn't agree with that more. Paul O'Neill, former Treasury Secretary, talked about paying it forward, just as he made an enormous endowment in our School of Public and Environmental Affairs, which was very nice for us. Samantha Power recently talked about advocating for the rights of the downtrodden across the planet. And I recently heard this wonderfully inspiring quote, "Pessimists never change the world." And that was issued by a woman named Jane Hagliar Martin, an IU alumna and a venture capitalist, speaking at an event honoring innovation in our department. Another good, inspiring quote, "Stay humble, stay hungry." And that's actually from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson coffee cup I got from my daughter for her birthday. It's really good, very words to live by. Oh, and this is my favorite. "You can sleep when you're dead." that is attributed to rocker Warren Zevon in 2017. But in fact, my grandfather said that in the 70s all the time. And by the way, those are very unhealthy words to live by, so you need to sleep. But I'm here to talk a little bit about changing the world, and not necessarily through inspiring words or a new synthesis or development of a new analytical instrument, all of which you can, of course, do. As mentioned, several years ago, I was named the recipient of an ACS National Award, the Garvin Olin Award, which recognizes service by women to chemistry. I would like to take a few minutes to tell the story of how I came to be recognized for service. It was completely unintentional. And one of the recurring themes of many commencement ceremonies is live intentionally. Well, I missed that message when I was growing up. So. And the service I've done is nothing like signing up for Doctors Without Borders or even volunteering at a soup kitchen. It's more along the line of challenging the paradigm to make our scientific community more inclusive. To set the stage, I first want to acknowledge how well University of Michigan chemistry prepared me for where I am now. I came to University of Michigan after graduating from a high school, actually in Saginaw, Michigan, with the intention of becoming a biological illustrator. I loved biology, I loved drawing, seemed like a match made in heaven. But when I met with my academic advisor, he told me I had to take chemistry before I could take biology at this place. So, all right. So I dutifully registered for chemistry, and I was placed in the honors first semester chemistry lecture. Basically, it was like a baby PChem, so that set the stage for me. So it was taught by Professor Robert Kuskowski, Dr. K. I loved that class. I loved it. I loved Dr. K. I did pretty well in that class. So, all right, that was a great experience. Then I took biology. And not to cast shade on the esteemed biology department at this institution, I didn't feel the same way about biology as I did about chemistry. So I switched from the molecular cellular biology major to a chemistry major. And of course, history took its course. I took a lot of physics. I was given the opportunity to do undergraduate research in a PChem lab, Professor Rick Francis, which I absolutely loved. The department even provided me with a much appreciated summer fellowship for doing research in the lab, so I didn't have to go back to my hourly job in Detroit. So this strong foundation paved the way for me to get into graduate school at UC Berkeley, which was arguably home to the best PChem program in the country at the time. The seeds of service I would eventually come to embrace were planted in my mind when I was a graduate student. At one point, my research advisor and I collaborated with a faculty member at a different institution and his student. This student came to stay with me for a week, during which time we spectroscopically probed an ion molecule complex she had been studying using the unique apparatus that we had built in my laboratory. It was really nice working with another female student. Most of my group mates and my classmates were male. At that time, the large PChem cohort at Berkeley was 5% female. That was in the early 90s, previous millennium. So I had conversations with her that were unlike conversations I had with some of my male classmates. In one conversation, she disclosed that her advisor had told her that if she had children, she would no longer be taken seriously as a scientist anymore. Now, something like that sounds absolutely shocking now. But in fact, it didn't sound shocking then, because right before my eyes, I didn't see women faculty. I didn't see women graduate students. And so it kind of made sense that, that was the message that was being sent out. No one had said anything like that explicitly to me before then. But at that point, I had to think, that's an unwritten and mostly unspoken rule that I'm really not okay with. I'm not willing to accept that rule. So I graduated from Berkeley. I wanted to go academic route, so I did a postdoc. After my postdoc, I secured my first assistant professor appointment at University of Illinois in Chicago, which put me in the same city as my partner. And I had a baby. And then I had another baby. I took my babies to work with me when daycare was closed, and on the weekends. There were no family leave, maternal leave policies that were available to me at the time, so when I had to give birth to my second baby, I bought myself out of teaching. Somehow, while it was really hard, I was still able to compete for external funds. I published, I got invited to give talks at ACS meetings, and my community, whether they wanted to or not, had to take me seriously. But that's really not service, though. That's just kind of pushing back, right? But after getting tenure at UIC, my family and I moved to IU Bloomington, much better commute for 2 small kids. So I had another baby, my Hoosier baby, who's now first year, finishing her first year at Indiana University. However, I found that when I moved, I moved from an institution that had senior faculty women on the, as colleagues, to a place that had no senior faculty women. And it turned out that over the course of several years, it appeared that we couldn't hire women at any rank. So when I moved, I took the position as an associate professor without tenure. And there was one other woman who was also pre-tenure, and that was it for the female representation at the faculty ranks. And I thought, it seems like there must be some unwritten institutional rules that are working against women here. So I just became an activist. My one female colleague and I started lobbying the deans and the vice provost, and at all faculty meetings, we would point out the successes of women who interviewed at our department but had been hired by other institutions. And after several months of activist activities, lo and behold, the upper administration eventually, let's just say, compelled the department to hire women. Pushing to change even mini paradigms like this causes friction. And there was blowback, but we indeed did hire women who became successful. So it was a good outcome. When female graduate student attrition rates seemed to run higher for women than for men, we founded that Women in Chemistry grassroots program to create a community for all the women in the department. When women faculty in adjacent departments felt like they were being treated unfairly, we spoke up and we advocated for them. It seems a little absurd in retrospect, the idea that a major push had to be made to get a department to realize that having women on the faculty actually was an okay thing. It actually strengthened the department. But these unwritten rules, these unwritten norms, are still making it less likely for other portions of our population to engage thoroughly in STEM fields. I have actually heard people say things recently. Well, maybe if population X would just rather not go into academia, I mean, who are we to try to push them? My response would be, why do you think that would be, that they think that this is not a good choice for them? Maybe because some of us have picked up on the unwritten rules. It's good to look around and to question and push. So my own efforts have gone beyond attempts to make academic science departments more equitable with respect to gender. I've also been involved in efforts to improve diversity in all regards, at the faculty, postdoc, grad student, and undergraduate levels. When I get back home, actually, one of the first things on my to-do list is to start preparing the letters of offering admission to our ACS Bridge program that we have established at Indiana University. The ACS Bridge program is a program that has a specific goal of improving racial diversity in chemistry graduate cohorts. And as department chair, I've been given a louder voice. I've been involved in faculty working groups on retention of faculty of color. I have worked to change and improve policies on dealing with sexual harassment. And I've been able to influence the climate in my department and the campus more broadly. And I'd also like to take a moment to point out that over the last 15 years or so, University of Michigan has emerged as a leader in institutional change in terms of inclusion. And I wanted to give a shout out to Abigail Stewart, a professor in psychology and women's and gender studies, who wrote the book on the Inclusive Academy, which has really shaped how I think about these things. Okay, so to conclude, you don't need me to encourage you to use your strong foundation in chemistry built during your years here at the University of Michigan for good, because I know that's already your plan. If there's one thing I'd like to encourage you to do, is to listen to your little voice, to the voice in your head when something doesn't seem right, such as that time when I heard the unwritten rule that mothers need not apply to academic faculty positions. Don't be discouraged if, when you push for some institutional change, someone says, hey, you knew what you were signing up for. I knew what I was signing up for. and I thought it was worth it to push for change. I hope you all feel empowered to push back when it seems warranted too. So again, I really appreciate having the opportunity to be here today on this day of celebration for you all. Congratulations, and go Blue.
All right, thanks, that was fantastic. So before we move to the presentation of certificates, I want to take a moment to give you a special gift here. If I can get it out without breaking it, perhaps. Here you go. Thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today. Today is a very inspiring talk. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm now pleased to present individual certificates to the graduating members of the University of Michigan Department of Chemistry class of 2022. Dr. Amy Gottfried will read the name of each graduate, and as your name is called, please come to the stage to receive your certificate. And I ask that the audience please hold all applause until all certificates are presented.
Graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Drew Tonopol. Manasi Anatapur. Hannah Bartels. Paige Carpenter. Matthew Fate. Julia Fu. Michael Graff. Joseph Keating. Jack Kelleher Ferguson. Anthony Labuda. Kiana Linton. Alvicente Riano Lisboa. Kyle Pelka. Jeremy Schwartz. Hongdi Wu. Graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, Kelsey Alpers. Nicholas Barron. Edward Blata. Andra Campbell. Taras Heach. Tobias Cox. Jeremy Craig. Ali Debaja. Zachariah Farah. John Philbin. Isabel Fisher. Anthony Frazier. Nicholas Fuller. Gabriel Gaviria. Emily Getzler. Fauzi Haydar. Madeline Hinckley. Jingyi Hu. Michael Huang. Jonathan Huyen. Songbei Kong. Katerina Kornevskaya. Alexander Key. Dmitry Lako. Matthew Lau. Alexander Levaskevich. Joshua Lee. Henry Lee. Zainab Mansi. Madeline Mason. Drew McNasser. Kareem Mahana. Britton Mismerheisen. Phoebe Miller. Hannah Palomino. Isabella Panza. Lauren Patronu. Vasilia Petronievich. Raghuram Prasad. AJ Prasad. Joshua Ray. Allison Rowe. Cameron Russell. Walla Salen. Izia Sufyan. Habib Saran. Alexander Sobek. Solomon Song. Ellen Stone. Deborah Tan. Scott Tovis. Anaya Walker. Linchin Yu. Lucy Yu. Rayan Zhang. Graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Biomolecular Sciences, Shahab Abdullah. Jonathan Electiar. Caitlin Elandojan. Munia Almueri. Katya Barco. Michaela Berry. Yasmin Ben Hamelin. Caitlin Beneditz. Kendall Brothers. Eunice Choi. Molly Dahl. Elizabeth Davis. Elisa DeWald. Catherine Duran. Andrew Florent. Felix Griffin. Vivian Harbor. Taylor Hardy. Caitlin Hegeman. Gal Hodish. Chandan Kadur. Jonathan Kang. Bella Karduk. Judy Kim. Duyun Kim. Alexander Coons. Dylan Landau. Jinyi Lin. Ryan Lentz. Jayu Liu. Sunny Mupuri. Karthik Nagapan. Riley O'Brien. Santana Parimi. Gwen Erzkan. Nicholas Fultony. Dear Patel. Arman Patel. Ann Phillips. Isabel Powers. Celine Rajul. Diana Ramo. Akshay Reddy. Isabella Rondon. Shalini Roy. Bethany Ruiz. Leopold Samba. Aimee Sangvi. Allison Shulkin. Emily Sharp. Jeff Shin. Alexander Sonalia. Tori Spector. Madeline Steer. Tamina Sultana. Abigail Sermay. Yana Beatriz Tenorio Pasinos. Lily Wink. Sohee Wan. Isabella Yaki. Caitlin Zabak. Nina Zhang. Graduating with the Bachelor of Science in Chemical Science, Isabel Rocco. Sajin Shor. Avi Weingarten. Xian Yang. And graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Chemical Sciences, Erin Buvar Klein. And Virginie Desmont.
All right, so please join me in congratulating all our graduates. So this concludes our graduation ceremony for this year, but before we adjourn, first I'd like to thank a lot of people that made this possible, so especially Angie Cox, who Drew mentioned as well in his talk, who does hold the department together, Katie Foster, Heather Hanosh, Emma Howell, Alex Franklin, and DeKayla Greer. Thanks so much for your hard work in organizing this ceremony, and also really more importantly for all the support that you provided the students over the years, and also the faculty. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. Thanks to all of the parents for your support of your students, and thanks to all of the students for making our department such an exciting, stimulating, and interesting place to teach, learn, and do science. Always remember that today does not mark the end of your education, but rather a new beginning. I ask you to use the knowledge that you've gained, the skills that you've acquired, and your mastery of the art of how to learn, to discover new things and to contribute to your fields and your society. Go out, pursue your dreams, do great things, accomplish your goals, and when you have a chance, come back to say hello and share your accomplishments. So this part is my favorite part, especially because we've had to do this through video for the last couple of years, and I just don't think it was the same. So graduating students, to signify your progression from the stage of education to the next, as lifelong learners and graduates of the University of Michigan Department of Chemistry, I ask you to move your tassels from right to left. Congratulations. So as we now begin the recession of faculty and graduates, I ask that all guests please remain seated until graduates have recessed from the theater, and thank you again, everybody.